negotiate the document? Because Bank B has been nominated. Can Bank C negotiate the document?
Cannot.
Cannot.
If it is mentioned in this here.
Yes.
If it is,
Simply we say cannot, but answer is yes. Because if LC very clearly mentioned, right, it has to be negotiated by Bank B. But if the Bank C doing all those things and going through the LC, if the Bank C is prepared to do that, then they have to take the risk. They have to take the risk and do it. Right? These things are happening because, okay, for example, your bank is Bank B, and you have restricted the negotiation to Bank B. That's your earlier agreement, and after 90 days or so, when we are sending the documents, right? By that time, your relationship with that bank has spoiled. You have become a bad audio customer. You have some audio bills, and bank is waiting to negotiate the documents and collect the money to recover the outstandings. You know that, right? When the bank is negotiating the document, if the customer has to pay the bank another 10 million rupees, first they'll try to recover that 10 million rupees, which is outstanding for them, right? So to avoid that, either the beneficiary and the opener will come to an agreement, and they can do an amendment to the LC. They can do an amendment to the LC to say restrictions to Bank B to remove that and to make it negotiation with any bank, so that they can take it to some other bank and negotiate the document and take the money into their hands without paying Bank B outstanding, right? So these things happens. These things happens in the market.
how they can amend that? Is it after that agreeing with the LC? Is it possible to amend?
After opening the LC, after opening the LC, before they negotiate, they can make an amendment.
All right.
During the period of the validity.
All right.
Right?
Before the negotiation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Right. How many people are there?
24.
24. Okay, then we'll start. Okay. Once again, good afternoon to all. Now we have discussed about the 4 payment methods. We have completed that. And today I'm going to discuss, we discussed about the documentary credit and what is documentary credit and how the documentary credit cycle runs and everything we have discussed. The pros and cons and all. Today what I'm going to discuss with you is special types of credits, special types of LCs. Apart from the normal LCs, there are some special types of LCs, which is in practice in the market. So we are going to discuss about those things, right? Because for the bankers as well as the customers, the companies, this will be very useful. One is clean credit. One is clean credit, right? We know about clean collection. Clean collection means only the financial document, no commercial documents. The clean credits is also somewhat similar to that. It is issued by a bank, clean credits, clean LCs, Seller may draw bills upon the banker without documentary support. Right? Seller may draw bills. That means they will issue only the bill of exchange. They will issue only the bill of exchange without documentary support. We are not asking any invoices, packing list or BL or insurance documents, nothing, without any documentary support. But normally, clean credits are granted only to firms of the highest credit standing or against security. In the market, it is not a very popular practice. Very rarely I don't think I have opened more than 3 or 4 clean credits in my banking career, right? Where I have opened lakhs and lakhs of LCs, right? It's very rare. Normally, we issue it to the companies with only the highest credit standing, and also keeping some security, because the entire purpose of definition of LC is, if the documents are complied with the terms and conditions of the LC, we will pay. Now here nothing, only the bill of exchange. Right? We have nothing to check. So based on that, so there's a risk because bank has given an undertaking. That is why the issuing bank is taking a security also, the collateral. Right? Then only we issue the clean credit. Okay. The second one is standby letter of credit. Standby letter of credit. Now, standby letter of credits are not very popular in Sri Lanka few years back. But now, little by little, I have seen we are getting standby letter of credit. Right? Now, first we'll see the definition. According to the definition, because standby letter of credit is also governed by UCP 600. Right? Now you all are having the UCP 600. Last week, Menaka uploaded to the system. You all are having the UCP 600 with you. Have you got it printed? Do you have a printed copy with you? No response. Why? Do you have a printed copy with you?
No, sir.
Why?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It
Yes,
was
sir.
uploaded. Yeah, it was uploaded to the system.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so you have to save it and then get a printout, because without a printout, you can't refer to the UCP 600 every now and then, because you need the UCP 600 like a Bible. Yeah, you have to keep it with you, right? So you have to keep it. Now, the first article of UCP 600 is, the first article of UCP 600 is, the people who are having the UCP 600, can you turn to the first article? It says, the Uniform Customs and Practice for Documentary Credits 2007 revision are rules that apply to any documentary credit, including to the extent to which they may be applicable, any standby letter of credit also. Just see, even the standby letter of credits are governed by UCP 600. Right? Okay, but there is a separate rules for standby letter of credit. Later, I'm going to discuss with you in detail. Right? That is ISP 98. Right. The definition is, the standby credit is a documentary credit or similar arrangement, however named or described, which represent an obligation to the beneficiary on the part of the issuing bank to repay money borrowed by the applicant or advance to or for the account of the applicant. Make payments on account of any indebtedness undertaken by the applicant, or make payment on account of any default by the applicant, the performance of an obligation. Now, this is very important, the definition. A standby letter of credit is something very much similar to normal bank guarantee. In a normal bank guarantee, the bank is giving the guarantee as a guarantor. Guarantor is the bank, right? They are the people who will issue the guarantee to a beneficiary, and they promise, okay, my applicant is going to put up a building for you, and if that guy doesn't perform his job properly, then as per the rules and regulations, we are prepared to pay you the money. We are prepared to pay you the money which you have advanced to the customer, right? The same thing here. Standby letter of credit is also very much similar to bank guarantees. To repay money borrowed by the applicant. The applicant has borrowed some money from the other party, the beneficiary, and beneficiary wants a standby letter of credit. That means the applicant's bank will issue a undertaking, bank of the applicant will issue an undertaking to the beneficiary. Okay, my customer will pay you the money on a monthly basis as agreed or as per the schedules or anything. But if they doesn't fulfill their obligations, then we will pay. It's a guarantee, right? And make payments on account of any indebtedness undertaken by the applicant. The same thing. Make payments on account of any default by the applicant, the performance of an obligation. That is like a contract, right? So all these things, one thing is very clear. This is very much similar to bank guarantee, right? Only the name is different. So why can't we use the bank guarantee instead of standby letter of credit? Why can't we? Can somebody give me some idea? Can somebody give me an idea?
In bank guarantee, he is not taking the credit or like loan.
Same simple. Bank guarantee is also 100% similar to standby letter of credit. Functionally, it is 100% similar. Then why you are having two instruments like this? Because some countries, they don't recognize bank guarantees in their law, especially USA, America. America doesn't recognize bank guarantees in their law. They recognize only standby letter of credit. And there are certain other European countries also. But in countries like Sri Lanka, India, the bank guarantees are acceptable in our law. In our commercial law, bank guarantees are acceptable. So there's no issue. And without going through all this hassle, we issue bank guarantees. Right? Otherwise, the functionality is the same. A standby letter of credit is a good alternative for a letter of trade when the buyer and the seller already know each other better. Especially, we can, if the two parties are known to each other, we can use a standby letter of trade. Now, for example, I'll give you an example. The buyer and the seller are known to each other, very well known to each other. So, it is on open account. The seller will send the goods to the buyer. Then the buyer will remit the money to the seller as per the agreement. Once the money has gone, everything is okay. This can be happen on a regular basis, but anything can go wrong. So what they will do is, rather than opening LCs and giving money to the commission, paying commission to the banks and going through the documentation, checking and all those things hassle. They don't have to go through those hassle. They just open a standby letter of credit and then do the business on open account. Business will go on open account. So the seller will send the goods, the buyer will send the money. If everything goes wrong, fine. But one fine day, seller has sent the goods, the buyer has not sent the money as per the agreement. Then the seller can put a claim on the buyer. So we can do the open account on the strength of a standby letter of trade. Right? Is it clear? Is it clear? Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A standby LC is a guarantee in the form of a documented trade, but is more flexible, has lower cost, and provides less administrative load as less documents are required. This is what I have mentioned. A standby LC is used as a guarantee for non-payment, payment guarantee by the buyer or non-compliance with the agreement by the supplier performance guarantee. Now, there's a big difference between the standby letter of credit and the normal letter of credit. The normal letter of credit, now you have to answer me, in the normal letter of credit, you will get the money when you fulfill the obligations requested by the beneficiary. Once you fulfill the obligation requested by the beneficiary, right, then you will get paid. In other words, if the documents are compliant, then you will get paid. For that, you have to complete the task. But in standby letter of credit, you will get the money if the task is not completed. The task is not completed. Once the task is completed, they will go on. And until the expiry, seller will send the goods and buyer will send the money. That transaction will go on for 2 months, 3 months, or 4 months, or 5 months, right? But only when there's a default, this will trigger, right? Okay, that's the difference. LC is once you perform as per the conditions, you will get paid. The second one, once you have not performed, then you will get paid. Standby letter of trades are commonly used as a form of guarantee by a parent company for credit facilities given to a subsidiary company. A form of guarantee by a parent company for the credit facilities given to a subsidiary company. Right? Now, is Sumudhu there?
Yes.
Yeah, Sumudhu.
Yes, sir.
I'll take your organization. It's a massive organization you are working. That's the Haley's group.
Yeah.
It's a group of companies. Haley's,
Yes.
how do you call it? Haley's Holdings or whatever, I don't know. Right? The parent company.
Conglomerates. His Haley's conglomerates.
Haley's? Sorry, I didn't get the name.
Conglomerates. Haley's PLC.
Haley's PLC. Haley's PLC is
Yes.
the parent company. And Singer is
Yes.
the subsidiary company. Now Singer
Yes.
wants to get some banking facilities from Sampak Bank. Sampak Bank will definitely ask Singer to submit collateral. Otherwise, you will not get the facility. But you don't have any collateral. Then what your financial controller will propose is okay. Our Haley's PLC is prepared to give a guarantee, standby letter of credit, your standby letter of credit for the facilities given to Singer. Right? So, based on that guarantee, Sampath will say, no issue. Haley's guarantee is more than enough. Right? They know the standing of Haley's PLC. Then, based on that is a collateral, Singer will enjoy the facility. So, if the Singer has serviced the facilities well within the limits and everything, that guarantee will be there and it will get, expired on the without utilizing it will get expired at the expiry date. But if Singers had some default and outstanding items to pay and all, then they will call on the guarantee, standby LC. It is something like this, right? The second one is in support of importers open account purchases. Importers open account purchases. I have discussed this. To cover brokerage firms' margin requirement, similar to open account. Brokerage firms' margin requirements will keep a standby letter of credit. To serve as bid and performance bonds in the construction industry or service contract business, right? Instead of issuing bid and performance bonds, they will issue standby letter of credit, right? Only the name is different. To cover advance payment or performance bonds, to provide insurers, agents worldwide reimbursement of claims paid, right? So those are commonly used areas. Okay. Now we'll go further. We have discussed plain credits, then standby letter of credit. 2 we finished. The third one is a advance payment documented credits. Advance payment documented credits. We call it red cross credit. It's also known as red cross credit. All right. The definition of red cross credit is a red cross DC is a documented credit with special condition incorporated into it that authorizes the confirming bank or any other nominated bank to make advances to the beneficiary before presentation of the documents. In any LCs, the negotiating bank will pay the beneficiary they will negotiate, pay the beneficiary once they negotiate the documents. Once they negotiate the documents. The seller, once they ship, once they submit the documents to the negotiating bank, the negotiating bank will check the documents against the LC, and then if they think that the document is complied with the terms and conditions of the LC, then they will pay. But here, before they submit the documents, before they complete the transaction, before they complete the manufacturing, some advance payment has been given to the beneficiary. Right? That is Red Clause LC. In earlier days, I mean in 17th century, right? That era, these Red Clause LCs were used in the what do you call this? A ship industry, Battle ship industry, right? So we need ships to get their fur is used for a textile industry. බැටළුවගේ ලෝම අපි ගන්නවා බැටළුවගේ ලෝම අපි ගන්නවා මේ ලෝම ඇඳුම් හදන්න බැටළුවගෙන් ගන්නේ බැටළු ලෝම ඒක අපි චූටි කාලේ ඉගෙනගෙන තියෙනවා right now to get the from this sheep, right, you have to look after the sheep for many years. You have to look after the sheep for many years, many months, at least many months. We'll have to feed them, we'll have to look after them, and then only you can cut the fur, right? Then the enakang, there is a cost to the sheep farmers. There's a cost to the sheep farmer. So they open, the buyer will open a LC and put a clause, we call it a red clause, to a clause to advance certain money to the beneficiary, the sheep farmer, long before they get the fur. Right? එතකොට ඇයි මේ red clause කියලා කියන්නේ? Those days we didn't have swift transactions, we didn't have all the LCs were typed, either handwritten or typed, right? Typewriters utawa එකක් තාම 18th, 19th century. So if they want to advance certain amount under that clause, what they used to do is to write that clause in red ink. Now, if it is typed, LC is typed, then they type that particular clause in red, right? In red color, just to attract. So that is why you say this is a red clause LC. Red clause LC. But then now, then අපි අරින්නේ normal swift, everything goes in black and white, right? So that is why you have to read very carefully, and you have to put a mentioning that you are opening a red clause LC, right? But the clauses and all are very much similar as the ancient days. The clause may require a receipt for the advance duly signed by the beneficiary. Right? Now we make clause it's a simple receipt for the advance duly signed by the beneficiary. An undertaking from the beneficiary to utilize the funds to purchase and pack the material. An undertaking from the beneficiary to present the full set of documents as stipulated in the credit to the negotiation bank within the expiry of the credit. All these things has to be included in the clause. Right? These are the items to be included. So you have to say that you undertake as a beneficiary, you have to mention that you undertake to utilize the advance payment that you have received, right, to purchase and pack the material. And also, we undertake to present the full set of documents as stipulated in the credit to the negotiation bank within the expiry of the credit. Right? Right? Even at time, okay, once a guy is once a guy receives the money, he can go to or he can give it to his wife to go on shopping and can get million මේ 10ක් දුන්නත් shopping යන්නේ කියලා අනේ වැඩි කියලා කියයිද කවදාකවත් නැහැනේ ඉන්දියා ගිහිල්ලා සාරි ටිකක් අරන් ඇවිල්ලා ඔක්කොම කරලා නේ ඒ සාරි ගෙනාම සාරි ටික වයිෆ්ම ගියයි අයියෝ මේ තව මාස 4කින් ගෙවන්න තියෙන්නේ අංකල්ලා මට දෙන්නකෝ මං කියන්නේ සාරි ටික කියලා අංකල්ලා විකුණලා මාත් ප්‍රොෆිට් එකක් තියන් වාට සාරි ටික දෙන්න මා ඇත්තනේ කියලා ඒක දුන්නා මෙහෙදි කස්ටම්ස් වලින් සාරි ටික සීස් කළා අන්තිමට මුකුත් නැහැ right ඒ වගේ දේවල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් ඒකද තමයි අපි අන්ඩර්ටේකින් එකක් දෙන්නේ as a beneficiary you have to give an undertaking that you will utilize these funds only to purchase and pack the material right again very important in reimbursement the nominated bank will claim on the issuing bank in terms of the LC supported by a document as indicated above. Right? මෙතනදී තව පොඩි එකක් තියෙනවා මේක දීලා නැහැ මේවා ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔළුවේ තියාගන්න ලියාගන්න when we issue what do you call this red clause LC always you have to restrict the negotiation to a nominated bank you have to restrict the negotiation to the nominating bank nominating bank එකට එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් වෙනවද nominating bank solidity අරගෙන ඊට පස්සේ negotiation with any bank කියලා තිබුණොත් they can go to some other bank and negotiate the documents ready for your own purposes not so you have to be very careful in order to provide some measures of comfort to the issuing bank and the applicant, the advance payment is sometimes to be made not only against a receipt and an undertaking, but also against the beneficiary. අපි සමහර වෙලාවට advance payment rates issue කරනකොට we don't satisfied with getting the simple receipt. Right? But we want to do something more to have more control. Right? Providing confirmation from a shipping agent that it has booked shipping space on a particular vessel and sailing date is consistent with the LC. That we can ask for another document or certificate by the confirmation by the shipping agent, right? To say that they have already booked a shipping space on a particular vessel to ship these goods, right? And the sailing date will be tentative sailing date will be this date, 15th May, 15th May. Okay, and it has to be inconsistent with the LC terms. If the LC, the latest shipment date is 14th, then you can't say sailing date is 15th. ඒක වැරදි. ඒ dispatchment document එක. දැන් සල්ලි හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. right? ඒකින්ද මේවා පොඩ්ඩක් ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඔළුවට ගන්න ඕන. Providing a receipt from an independent warehouse that goods are or will be stored and insured. Actually, by doing these things, we are trying to get these people more and more bonded. The beneficiary was allala තියාගන්නවා. Right? Agreeing that the nominated bank may retain the original advice of the DC. Now, normally when we advise the LC, we give the original LC to the original LC copy to the customer. Right? I mean, if it is a red cross LC, I would say it is better than nominated bank or the advising bank or the nominated bank. We should ask them to retain the original advice of the DC with them. It's a better control, because then the beneficiary cannot go to any other bank, because if they are going to some other bank and do the negotiation, they will ask you the original DC. Without original DC, no bank will prepare to negotiate the documents. You have to have the original LC. ඉතින් අපි original LC එක අපි nominated bank එක තියාගන්නවා නම් අපිට එතන පොඩි control එකක් තියෙනවා. Right? Any questions on that? Red cross? අහන්න ඔයගොල්ලෝ තියෙනවා. Are you getting these red cross LCs in your day-to-day operations?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir.
Right? Yeah. What's the bank for that?
NDB, sir.
You are from NDB. NDB.
Yes.
NDB එනවනේ. වැඩ
Uh,
කරලා තියෙනවා.
recently, we didn't get.
හැබැයි වැඩි not very popular. 100 days, 100 200 LCs වල එනකොට සමහරට එන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් නැද්ද ඒක මම දන්නේ නැහැ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් NDB කියන්නේ operations තියෙන bank එක. Right? එන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි හරි අඩුයි. හරි අඩුයි. Right? ලංකාවේ ඉතින් මොනවා advance payment දෙන්නද අපිට? නේද? අතන නම් බැටළුවන්ගේ ලෝම ටිකවත් කපා ගන්න අපේ බෙල්ල කපන්නේ නේ? ඒ වගේ ඉෂ්‍යු එකක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Right. With a green clause LC. Green clause LC එක නම් මේ very rare. Right? It is very rare. I mean, nowadays is rare කියලා. A green clause LC allows pre-shipment to be made as red clause DC, but stipulate that the advances may only be made against goods stored to the advising bank's order pending shipment. Then green අරක දෙන්නේ තාම සතා පණ පිටින් ඉඳද්දී සතාට කාලා කවලා පොවලා හදාගන්න. හරිද? මේක තියෙන්නේ finished goods ටික we store in a warehouse. Right? Goods are stored in a warehouse, and it is to the order of advising bank. To the order of advising bank, right? So we have a control. The funds are advanced against warehouse receipt in the lending bank's name, right? මේවා funds දෙන්නේ warehouse receipt වලට. Warehouse receipt වලට තමයි දෙන්නේ. Such green clause DCs are very rare nowadays, right? Okay. උතර මේවා green clause එකේදී ඒවා ලෑස්තිලා ඔක්කොම ලෑස්ති කරලා තියලා තියෙනවා දැන් shipment වලට ready for shipment, right? Okay. Another one is evergreen. One is green clause, another one is evergreen, right? Known as annually renewable DCs. Normally these DCs are the validity of the DC. Normally normal validity is in 3 months, 4 months. The evergreen name annually renewable on an annual basis, right? Used in insurance sector for underwriting certain insurance risks. All our insurance companies are reinsured with London, right? එතකොට ඒවා මොනවද ඒවා underwriting issues කොහොම reinsure කරලා තියෙනවා. අනේ ඒවට අපි issue කරනවා evergreen DCs. These DCs are available for available to provide available for provided that a longer period than the traditional DCs. A copy given can only be cancelled or amended provided that notice is given by the issuer to the beneficiary or no before the current expiry. Right? These DCs are commonly seen in standby DCs. Right? Evergreen DCs. Standby DCs again අපි දෙනවා insurance කට්ටිය දෙන්න දුන්නාට පස්සේ reinsuring party එක they will reinsure, right? Now how many new types of LCs we have already discussed?
5 times.
What are they? Clean credits, standby,
Advance payment.
green clause and evergreen. Right? අපි නම් දන්නේ මෙච්චර කාලේ evergreen LCs නම් දන්නේ නැහැ, evergreen songs නම් දන්නව නේද? පරණ songs Jim Reeves එහෙම those are evergreen songs, right? හැමදාමත් තියෙනවා. මේකත් එකම meaning එක එන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ use කරන්න when you are studying ඔබේ තියාගන්න බලන්න මේ වගේ gimmicks ටිකක් දාගන්න. Evergreen කිව්ව ගමන් it will go on for sometimes more than 1 year, 2 years validity. Okay? Then revolving document periods. Revolving document periods මේකත් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි usage එක ටිකක් අඩුයි. Right? මාත් සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මම කොහොමද ලක්ෂ ගණනක් ඇරියයි කියලා ලක්ෂ ගණනක් ඇරලා තිබ්බත් මේවත් මුළු මගේ අවුරුදු 45ක banking period එකේ, right? About 30 years in more than 30 years in trade. I don't think I have opened more than 25 to 30 revolving document periods, right? To make it operationally little bit, you have to be very careful. Standard Chartered name the banks where you get veterans in their trade departments who knows what to do, right? Then they'll take the risk. Now make a definition Kiloban definition The revolving document credit is one by which under the terms and conditions thereof the amount is renewed or reinstated without specific amendment to the DC being required. The revolving document credit may be revocable or irrevocable and may revolve in relation to time or value. Right? Medical load we'll simply discuss. Then we can come back for the definition, or you can just go back to the definition and see whether you understood this. Then make it again Greek again. Right? When I was at, I'll give you an example. It is easy to learn with examples. When I have started this international trade operations at Cargill's Bank, right? I was there from the inception. Unfortunately, one of my very, very good colleague who joined with me from the inception to set up the bank, he passed away day before yesterday because of Corona. I think you may have come across that message. Most of the bankers have got the message. One Mr. Kanishka Perra, CIO of Cargill's Bank, he passed away due to Corona. Right? අපි 6 දිනක් 7 දිනක් තමයි හිතලා ඔක set up කරගෙන දැන් අපි මේක කරගෙන යනවා. In those days I can remember Cargill's group took over 3 coins beer. And then 3 coin beer then now it is later it was taken over by Lion Lager, but those days Cargill's group took over the 3 coin beer. And the best persons in the beer industry in the world are Germans. So there was a German guy called Michael in that as a head, right, of the operations and all. And once he came to me and he asked me, Jagaldhara, I am having a problem. What is it? My suppliers in Europe, they want us to open LCs to send their goods, right? Open account, but collection not they will come to that. They only deal on LCs. So he said, okay, I want to open LCs every month or every other month to get down these ingredients to manufacture beer from various countries like Spain, Italy, Belgium, Germany, France.
Excuse.
Yeah.
So your line is not clear.
Line is not clear. Line is not clear. What about the others? Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear it.
Yes. Can hear.
Right. Okay. Thank you. So he came in. Michael came and asked me that he wants to get done. Then I asked him how often they need this. Every month they need the ingredients, the raw materials for the manufacturing of beer. So I suggest him the best thing is to open, rather than opening a LC, to open a revolving documented rate. Revolving documented rate. Right? Then I explained everything to him. Then he said, that's fantastic. Then Siddhartha, can you open the revolving LCs for us? Right? Now, at that time, I was dealing with, because my staff was brand new people. They didn't have any experience, previous experience in trade. I am the one who trained them from scratch, right? I taught them A to Z of LCs, international trade, and it is very. So I got scared to handle these revolving LCs with a bunch of people like that. Now they are well experienced by now, but that was the beginning of a. I don't think after 1 week or 2 weeks after we started the operations, this guy came. So then අපි අපිට බෑ කියලා කියන්න බෑනේ. බෑ කියලා කියන්නත් ලැජ්ජයි. ඉතින් එතකොට හොඳ නෑ මම ලස්සනට ඒක හැන්ඩල් කළා. I told them okay, who are your other bankers? Then they mentioned about Standard Chartered and all. That's okay, fine. That was my previous bank. They are international banks. They have branches all over the country, world, all over the world. So, and they are well recognized in the world. And we are still new to the international trade operation in the world. A lot of people doesn't know what is Cargill's bank. So they may not accept our LCs. ඔයගේ ලොකු බයිලයක් ගහලා operation එක තල්ලු කළා Standard Chartered එකට. I don't know whether they got it or not. Right? මොකද මට බය වුණා මේක මට handle කරගන්න. මම when I was at Standard Chartered, when I was at HSBC, that's a common thing, you know. Yeah, don't try handle karna. With a new bunch, without any experience, zero experience, right? I was a bit scared, right? Because there are a lot of operational hiccups when it comes to revolving documentary credit, right? The use between the buyers and sellers who have a long-standing trading relationship and experience in shipment of goods described in the credit. Okay. The amount available on the credit to be reinstated, usually without any specific amendment. But sometimes you need an amendment, but sometimes usually without any specific amendment. Banks issuing revolving credits should specifically exclude the provisions of Article 32 of UCP 600, installment drawings or shipments, as the two methods are fundamentally and conceptually different. Now, every LC, when we open the LC, I have already told you, we have to mention this is subject to UCP 600. You agree with me? You have to mention this is the LC is subject to UCP 600. But when you say subject to UCP 600, that means it is subject to entire 39 articles. But if you are opening a revolving LC, you have to specifically mention, underline that, right? Specifically mention that this is subject to UCP 600, excluding the provisions of Article 32. excluding the provisions of Article 32. That is installment drawings or shipment. Article 32, those who are having the UCP 600, please read the Article 32. This is a very common questions you might get very frequently. Article 32, installment drawings or shipment. If a drawing or shipment by installments within given period is stipulated in the credit and any installment is not drawn or shipped within the period allowed for that installment, the credit ceases to be available for that and any subsequent installment. Right? The mega Toganda product Greek Koreati. Now we'll take a small example. Can you just jot down in your piece of paper or books or anything? There's an installment drawings in a LC. You have got you are given a schedule of installment drawings. Right? First installment. Goods we are importing is if you say watches, wristwatches, right? Wristwatches from Switzerland, Swiss watches in the wristwatch. 5,000 units. 5,000 units before 31st March 2021. Can you write that? First shipment, first installment, first shipment, 5,000 units. 5,000 units before 31st March. Okay. Second installment, second shipment, 5,000 units, 5,000 units before 30th April. Third shipment, 5,000 units before 31st May. Before 31st May 2021. May March 31st. Shipment schedule. The first shipment was received. The first shipment was received on. First shipment was shipped. First shipment was shipped on 29th March. 29th March. Is it a compliant shipment or not? Is it a compliant shipment or not?
Compliant shipment.
Compliant. Yeah, because we had to do it before 31st March. And they have shipped on 29th March. Perfectly all right. The second shipment, the second shipment was done on April. Second shipment was done on 3rd May. 3rd May. Is it discrepant or not?
Discrepant.
Why?
Late shipment.
Late shipment. Very good. Very good. The third shipment was done on 30th May. 30th May. Is it discrepant or not? Hmm?
No.
No, sir.
Is it all right? I didn't get the answer to my question. My question is it discrepant or complied?
Comply.
Complied, sir.
Everybody complied. Why? Why? Why you say complied? Because
Last.
Before the
that we have to do it before 31st May. They have done it on 30th May. That's why you said complied. Right? Okay, fine. Without giving my opinion, now can you read the Article 32 again and now you answer my question. Whether these documents are complied or not. Read the Article 32 and then answer. Right? Now read. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay. Now what is the answer? I will now again I'm asking. We have a shipment schedule, right? First shipment, is it complied or not?
Comply.
Complied. Second shipment,
Discrepancy.
discrepant. Third shipment,
Discrepancy.
huh?
Discrepancy.
Now discrepant. You got it? Very good.
Yes.
Very good. Now you understood, right? When we have given a shipment schedule, if one shipment is discrepant, right, then that particular one and any subsequent shipments will also get discrepant, right? But you can't use that particular ruling if it is a revolving LC. That is why we have to mention it is subject to UCP 600, including the provisions of Article 32. Article 32 දැම්මා ගමන් අපිට මේක කරන්න බෑ. Right? Okay. Very good. කාට හරි තේරුම් නැත්නම් මට කියන්න බෑ. කාට හරි ඉෂුව එකක් තියෙනවද ඒක? මම මේ ලේසිම විදියට ඔයගලට කියන්නේ. Right. The two methods of reinstatement of revolving credits, reinstatement of revolving credits, it can be revolved upon time. Either cumulative or non-cumulative. You can add up or you can without adding to that. Then upon value. First one is upon time. Second one is upon value. If it is upon value, banks issuing revolving LCs upon value must indicate the number of times that the DC will revolve. Okay, because it says upon time, in the sense we say upon time and what up, January, February, March, April, May. January, February, March, April, May. 5 months old. Okay. Every month you can do the shipment. Every month. Upon value, the maximum value you can go is up to $100,000. $100,000. Right? And the period of the LC is 180 days. Period of the LC is 180 days. 100,000 per time, 100,000 value. එහෙම වුණොත් අපි කී පාරක් මේ LC ඇර ගෙන්න ගන්න පුළුවන්ද? How many times we can open the LC? How many times we can revolve the LC? How many times we can revolve the LC? Not open. How many times we can revolve the LC? 180 times. දවසේ ගානේ පුළුවන් ඕන අපිට revolve කරන්න නේ. එහෙම තිබ්බොත් අපිට liability එක තියාගන්න බෑ. calculate කරගන්න බෑ. ඒකින්ද අපි කියනවා within 6 months, the 6 months period from January to June, it will be revolved. It can be revolved 6 times or 7 times or whatever. හරි? ඒක පැහැදිලිවම කියන්න ඕන value එකේදී. time එකේදී අපි කියනවානේ monthly කියලා. හරි ඉවරයි.
Sir, what do we mean by cumulative or non-cumulative, sir?
Yes, cumulative or non-cumulative. Now, again, unfortunately, I told the institute also, normally when I'm doing this session, I used to use the whiteboard, right? I make it a whiteboard, I will Mama mehindan liyanna ogullo athrindan ogullo ogullo liyan, right? Okay. If you say take a piece of paper and put on top, full amount is 25,000 units, 25,000 units each month. 25,000 units each month. Right? Please write down. Then one after the other, you can say first month, second month, third month, fourth month, fifth month, sixth month. Duration is 6 months. 6 months. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, so first we'll say cumulative. Cumulative. The first month we have shipped 25,000 units. Is it all right? Is it all right? Okay. The second month, we have shipped 20,000 units. Maybe because of Corona and some other issues, we could manufacture only 20,000. So we have shipped 20,000. Right? Third month, if it is cumulative, for the third month, what is the allocated number of units? 25,000. 25,000 is the allocated one. But if it is a cumulative,
Yes.
the previous month we are having a balance of 5,000. Right? Now, third month you can ship 30,000. Is it clear now? Cumulative?
Right, sir.
Right. Then the fourth month, the country was locked down. We couldn't ship a single, zero. No shipment. country was locked down. Fifth month was okay. We started the manufacturing. The maximum, how much we can send?
50,000.
50,000 units. Then there are no other cumulative and non-cumulative. If it is non-cumulative, first month 25,000. Second month 20,000. We have sent 20,000. Third month
25,000.
only 25,000, not 30,000. Only 25,000. Right? Fourth month Corona, zero production. Then fifth month, how much?
25,000.
25,000. Now you understand cumulative and non-cumulative?
Yes, sir.
Any questions on that? Right. Okay. Cumulative it will adapt to the previous balance. Right? Okay. Non-cumulative it doesn't adapt. Right? You cannot adapt. Right. Whether the revolvement is automatic or not, another important thing. When we open the LC, revolving LCs, this is why I am discouraging revolvement LCs if I don't have a good staff. Right? If I don't have a good staff, this is why I am discouraging. Not only opening, you won't believe when I was at Standard Chartered Colombo as well as in HSBC. Standard Chartered the Brighton and
Yes, sir.
yeah, and with the other guy, with the other guy in the bank,
Alex.
Alex is there, right? Now, when you you are in trade finance department, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, in your department, you have LC LC cabinet. When you open the LC, you put it in a file and you store it according to the serial number. Right? You store it according to the serial number. LC file make okay, right? Habai, when I was heading the department, I had my own shop, a small 2-drawer fireproof shop beside my table. I used to keep these revolving LCs in my shop. I am not allowing them to keep it in the normal shop, because if I put it in the normal shop, when the guys doc checkers when they receive the documents, right? When they are checking the documents, what they will do is they will negotiate it, forgetting that this is a revolving LC, right? A automatic, then non-automatic, they will treat it as a normal one. එතකොට අපිට යවන්න ඕන නම් non-automatic, we have to send a revolvement amendment act කරලා revolvement act කරන්න ඕන නම් ඒව අපි නොකර ඉන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒකින්ද මම කරන්නේ මේ ඔක්කොම document මේ original LCs ටික මම ගාව තියාගන්නවා revolving LCs ටික. When they receive the documents from the system, you can find that it's a revolving LC. They had to come and ask me the file. එතකොට මං Brightnet දුන්නා නම් ෆයිල් එක උදේට ඇවිල්ලා ඊට there's a document we have received on revolving LC number, blah, blah, blah. Can I have the file? Yes, I'll give the file. Even in every half an hour, I'm asking you, write me, I didn't see that message. Have you checked this thing? Constant monitoring. Constant monitoring. Because I can't trust even my officers. If something goes wrong, I'll have to give my neck. Right? Control current. Right? If the revolvement are automatic, there is no need for any further amendment from the issuing bank. If it is automatic. If it is non-automatic, will depend upon the receipt by the nominated bank of the issuing bank's authorization. Every time when the issuing bank receives the documents, they will pay the bills and they have to send an amendment or a what do you call this message to the nominated bank. Okay, now you are allowed to negotiate the second lot, the next lot, right? You have to keep on telling those people if it is non-automatic. If it is automatic, the moment they send the documents, it is get revolved. LC will get revolved. For non-automatic, for example, a DC may indicate that US dollars 25,000 may be drawn each month during its 6 months validity. 25,000 may be drawn each month during its 6 months validity. The liability of the issuing bank may be drawn on each month. If it is automatic, when we open the LC, we have to keep the liability as 25,000 into 6. 25,000 into 6. 150,000 will be the liability under automatic. And if it is non-automatic, then US dollars 25,000 is the liability. Because once you receive the first set of 25,000, then you have to send an amendment, and when we are sending the amendment, we will reinstate the liability. Right? Again, non-automatic. Banks will practice again, whether it's automatic or non-automatic, they cover for the full amount. They cover for the full amount, like automatic. 150,000 of liability have done. Right? Mistakes karagande burying them. Control of operational risk in revolving DCs. Issuing banks should ensure that honor or negotiate should be restricted to a nominated bank. Very important. Very important. We have to restrict the negotiation to a nominated bank. Otherwise, the beneficiary's beneficiary will go to 10-15 banks. So we won't be able to coordinate or the controls. Right? Revolvement of amounts remains under control of issuing bank. Right? Issuing bank, how they have to control. Okay. Before we go to the next one, transferable grades. Any questions on revolving LCs? I hope I have explained to you in detail, right? If you have any issues, the guys who are working in trade, who are handling revolving LCs, if we have any issues, now it's the time.
So, sir, each time these non-automatic uh, revolving LC is done, are we setting up the limit each time, sir? We have to, right?
We have to set up each time. That means I told you, now
Yeah.
we have first we have set up a liability of 25,000. When we receive the documents, then may I speak in there?
This is Malik, sir. Malik.
Malik from DFC is it?
NDP, sir.
NDP. Malik, when we are issuing LCs, right? When we are issuing LCs, Malik, we have to. Unfortunately, you people doesn't know what are the entries, because all the entries are going in the system, automatic, right? When we open the LCs, we have to have the LC liability 25,000. Then we have to have contingent liability of 25,000 also, right? And then when we receive the bills, if it's a site LC, when we receive the bill, the LC liability will be reversed. LC liability will be reversed, and we credit LC liability and debit customer current account. We debit customer current account and credit the LC liability. Right? Now the LC liability is 0. LC limit is 25,000. Now we are prepared to open another LC up to 25,000. That was freed now. Right? And okay, for example, if we are giving them a loan, import loan, then we debit import loan and credit LC liability, right? LC liability, like that. Then the LC liability is 0. When the LC liability is 0, the bank can open another LC, right? Likewise, in the revolving LCs also, non-automatic. Once we receive the documents, LC limit will be 0. Limit will be, outstanding will be 0. Liability is 0. Liability is 0. But we have a limit of 25,000. Then we send a amendment and then open another LC marking 25,000. Right? Okay, okay, and okay, sure, nothing hinda. LC කරලා අපි reinstate කලේ නැත්නම් එම ඒ facility එක වෙන එකකට use කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. ඒ facility එක වෙන එකකට use කරන්න වෙනවා. ඒක හින්දා තමයි අපි හැමතිස්සම, whether it's automatic or non-automatic, the practical part, what I have told you is the theory part, right? We have to better write the theory part and then we have to say, but practically what is happening in the banks is to cover for the entire period and for the entire amount. Again, 25,000. Sorry, 125,000. It's like 150,000 or 125,000, whatever. A amount make it up here. Theoretically, bila hama bile amount again, liability will be reversed. Right? අපිට මේක ඔච්චර මට කියන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙන්නේ මම හිතන්නේ දැන් උගන්න ඔයගලගේ ඩිපාර්ට්මන්ට් එකේ මැනේජර් කෙනෙක්ටවත් මැනේජර්ස් නම් කොහොමද දන්නේ නැති මංජුල් එහෙම නම් හොඳට දන්නවා මම කියන ඔෆිස් කෙනෙක් එහෙම ගත්තොත් එහෙම නම් ප්‍රොමෝට් වෙච්ච ඔෆිස් කෙනෙක් ඒගොල්ලෝ දන්නේ නැහැ මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ තනි කරම සිස්ටම් එකටම පුරුදු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ එතකොට අපි මොකටද මේ උරෝ තියන්නේ in good old days we used to write all these things all these general ledger entries we had to write it manually ලියන්න ඕන ලියලා හවස ledger එකේ post කරන්නත් ඕන ඒක current account right ඒක තමයි අපිට මේ කටපාඩම් නැත්නම් ඉතින් නැත්තම් බෑ right I think
Yes, sir.
I have answered your question right The next one is transferable LCs, transferable credits, transferable LCs. This is a very good tool for operations of international trade. Very common one. I told you in my career. Green clause, red clause, වගේ red clause නම් යනවා ටිකක් යනවා green clause, evergreen වගේ හරි and standby we have opened very few because in our country we prefer bank guarantees and revolving not only 25 to 30 but transferable credits. If you are advising 20 LCs a day, 20 LCs a day, at least three are transferable LCs. It's a common one, right? Give me 1 minute to bring a bottle of water. Till then, can you please go through this slide, read the slide and try to understand. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay. A transferable credit is an irrevocable DC designated as transferable. Right? This DC is one that can be transferred by the original beneficiary, first beneficiary or transferor, to another party, second beneficiary or transferee. Right? If the transferable DC allows for partial shipments, such a DC may be transferred to one or more second beneficiaries, each party receiving its own portion of the transaction. The second beneficiary is not allowed to transfer to another or third beneficiary. All right. This transferable LCs is a very interesting one and common because in most of the it's in the market practice. Yeah, you get middleman. You get middleman as a first beneficiary. Now, shall we take some example? Okay, the middleman, Mr. Pereira, is the one who is having a lot of contacts. Right? Okay, for example, if you, මම කියන examples අපේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ තැන් වල කතා කරන්න යන්න එපා. මොකද මේ example එකකින් අහම ලේසි ගණන් මට මේ ක්ලාස් එකේ කරන්න බැරි මේකම තමයි මේ ඔක්කොම මේවා රෙකෝඩ් වෙන හින්දා. මොකද අනිත් ක්ලාසස් වල මේ transfer analysis ළමයි hina වෙවි අහගෙන ඉන්නවා. මම දෙන examples වලින් ඒගොල්ලන්ට කෙලින්ම transfer analysis එක ඔළුවටම වැටලා ඉවරයි. ඔළුවටම වැටලා ඉවරයි. හරි? දැන් මේකම හරි අමාරුයි. මම I have to be very careful with the words I am using because next day, luckily these days, lockdown. අනිත් දවසක් වුණා නම් රෑ වෙනකොටම ඇවිල්ලා ගෙදරින් මාව ඇදලා නම් මගේ ඔළුවට පිස්තෝලයක් තියලා මට තර්ජනය කරේ තවුසේ මොනවද මේ කිව්වේ කියලා. ඇයි අපි ගැන කිව්වේ කියලා. right මේ වගේ ඒ ඔක්කොම අපි ක්ලාස් එකේ කළා. මොකද දැන් මේක මම හරිය පරිස්සමින් කියන්නේ. okay really speaking, I don't want to be a banker if I am having some good contacts in the government sector, high ranking officers, right? Decision makers, as my uncles or father-in-law, මට මේ බැංක් එක වැඩ කරන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ. මට මේ උගුර කැඩෙනකම් උගන්ට උගන්නන්න ඕනෙත් නෑ. I can earn good money from transferable LCs. Right? Now, for example, okay, if you think that Mr. Perra is the first beneficiary and he has the contacts, he has a lot of contacts. His father-in-law was a minister, previous minister, and his cousins are some young ministers these days, right? So this young guy has a lot of contacts. Now he has got a contact to supply certain items to Dubai, certain items to Dubai, right? For that he has got a LC, transferable LC from Dubai to supply certain items to Dubai. Now, up in certain items to supply vegetables, to Dubai. Dubai වලට අපි ලංකාවේ vegetables යනවා හරියට. right? අපිත් බලන් ඉන්න හැමදාම මේ දවස්වල Tuesdays වලට එනවා, Tuesdays වලට Fridays වලට එනවා මේ aircraft එකේ ලොකු load එකක් එනවා ලංකාවේ එළවලු. අපි ලංකාවේ කට්ටිය ඔක්කොම බලන් ඉන්නේ even not only Sri Lankans, even the Indians, Pakistanis, they all are waiting to get these vegetables, right? So the vegetables are coming from Sri Lanka. Now order again to the first beneficiary, but the first beneficiary is having a lot of contacts, right? But he is not cultivating vegetables, or he is not the manufacturer. So what he will do is he will transfer this LC to a second beneficiary who is the real manufacturer or the cultivator, with the real manufacturer or the exporter of vegetables. But that poor guy doesn't have any contacts, right? So he gets a transferable LC from the first beneficiary, Mr. Perra. So second beneficiary අපි හිතමු මේ අපුහාමි කියලා. Second beneficiary, Mr. Apuhami, will ship the vegetables in whatever the way as per the LC requirement to Middle East, to Dubai, and send these documents to the first beneficiary's bank for the payment. Right? Now the thing is, how the thing is happening is whether the entire consignment, the first beneficiary will get the consignment as $50,000 worth of vegetables and giving the list, 50,000 worth of vegetables. But he is transferring the LC to Mr. Apuhami, the second beneficiary, to supply the same quantity, same quality, and same quantity for a price of $40,000. For a price of $40,000, right? But still, it is profitable for Apuhami because otherwise he has to put it to the local market where he can't find this money, this much of money, right? You think මෙයාට මොකද වෙන්නේ? Apuhami 40,000 වලට අර ලෝඩ් එක වටවනවා. Mr. Perraට දෙන්නේ 50,000 වලට තමයි ලෝඩ් එක සල්ලි හම්බ වෙන්නේ. Mr. Perra, without doing any damn thing, he is just sitting at home, right? And he is collecting $10,000 summa money without doing anything, free, right? මේ වගේ කට්ටිය තමයි නිකාම ගෙදර ඉඳලා හම්බුනම කට්ටිය තමයි යන්නේ නයිට් ක්ලබ් ගිහිල්ලා ඊට පස්සේ ඕන තරම් බොටල් එකක් අරගෙන ඉසිවාස් රේගුලුත් අරගෙන even spending 40,000 on a bottle, they don't care because they have received this money without any hazard. ඔගොල්ලෝ අපි වගේ මරණකම් වැඩ කරලා නෙමෙයි. නිකම්ම ඉඳලා. right? ඊට පස්සේ රණ්ඩු වෙනවා, ගහ ගන්නවා. දැන් මතකනේ පරණ ඉන්සිඩන්ට්ස් ඔය මතක් කරගන්න. මම නම් කියන්නේ නැහැ. ඊට පස්සේ තාත්තගේ බොඩිගාඩ්ලත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා යන්නේ තාත්තලා බොඩිගාඩ්ලා අහනවා අර අනිත් අහිංසක ළමයින්ට right? ඉන්නවා. දැන් ඔය ඉන්සිඩන්ට් එක උඩින් තියාගන්න. මොකද මේ ආටිකල් එක කියවන්නකොට මේ අලුත් කෑලි ඔය පරණ ඉන්සිඩන්ට්ස් වලට එකතු වෙනවා. right? දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ කොහොම මේ ඔය ටිකක් හරි දන්න කට්ටිය මතක ඇති. මේ නිකන් ඔයගේ ඉන්සිඩන්ට් එකක් කාගේ හරි ඉන්සිඩන්ට් එකක්. අර මේ අපි හිතන මොකද ඔයගේ දේවල් කරන්නේ කියලා. ඔන්න ඕක තමයි transfer LC එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ. You are transferring the LC to a second beneficiary to perform. Right? Advantages to transfer DC is they provide the traders supplier with security for payment. Now, the best part is the second beneficiary, Mr. Apuhami, is getting the order supported by a LC. So that, in other words, his payment is secure. His payment is secure, right? But this is the same LC opened by Dubai Bank. They are just transferring. The first beneficiary is not opening a new LC. He is just transferring the LC. Doing some adjustments, he is just transferring the LC. Otherwise, when we open a LC, the bank will ask us to keep collateral. Now we don't have to keep any collateral. We don't have to keep any collateral because the first beneficiary's bank will transfer the LC without any responsibility and obligations on their part. They are just transferring. Right? But the second one is also happy because he's getting the LC. At least up to a certain extent, he is secure. His payment is secure. But most of the innocent people, they don't read these LCs properly, because when the first beneficiary's bank, when they are transferring the LC, they put certain clauses to absolve from the liability. Right? Okay, we will discuss it later. Convenient solution for the trader, as it allows him to provide suppliers with the security of a DC without using his own banking facility. The mega banking facility first beneficiary can issue a LC to the second beneficiary, Apahami, right? Without using his own banking facilities. The risk and cost. Extra risk and cost for the original rate applicant. Because the risk of receiving goods from an unknown third party. The first applicant in Dubai, if you say Al-Hamdan Group is opening the LC to Mr. Perra. They know each other, but he is getting the goods from Apuhami, which he doesn't know. Who is this guy? Apuhami from Kakirava. He is the guy who is sending the goods. Have context in Mr. Pereira. More people are involved, and documents have to be examined and mailed twice before they reach the issuing bank. Right? And thus increasing the risk of loss and errors along the way. More people are involved. First beneficiary, second beneficiary, involved in normal. Risk may also increase the risk of fraud. Even the frauds can happen. Right. This is the normal, simple manner. The issuing bank will issue the LC. Right. This is the applicant. Applicant will give the LC application to the issuing bank. Issuing bank will issue the transferable LC and advise to the advising bank. So advising bank will advise the LC to the first beneficiary. The first beneficiary is then request the advising bank. Now we call it transferring bank. The same bank, advising bank. Now it will become the transferring bank to transfer the LC to second beneficiary, or second beneficiaries can be more people. Now, for example, the order you got from Dubai, Al-Hamdan Group, right, are for vegetables, right? Vegetables can carrot, beet, cabbages, leeks, whatever. Then again they need mukunanna, patola, snake wood, bitter gourd. Right? This again අනුරාධපුර පැත්තට තියෙන එළවලු. Right? So they will, the middleman will distribute the LC and also rice. Till samba and some rice. Rice miller connect. It can be either one second beneficiary or any number of second beneficiaries. Right? So they will be sending the goods on their own to the original buyer into bar. Right? Okay. When we read the articles, you will understand it very easily. Make a very important topic, right? Transferable rate flow chart. The 1, 2, 3, 4 mandala, applicant is there, right? Then the first beneficiary, second beneficiary, and issuing bank of first beneficiary, second beneficiary is bank. The down I have mentioned, right? The first LC is for US dollars 5,000, and when they are transferring, that's for 2 months. They will transfer it for 1.5 months. They reduce the time period and transferring $4,500, keeping $500 profit for them. Right? Make a normally we have to take a small break in a 4-hour session. We'll take 10 minutes break. Right? If you want to have a cup of tea, you can go and grab a cup of tea and then start going through this chart. Numbers පිළිවෙලට යන්න. Numbers පිළිවෙලට යන්න. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් මේක මම ඇවිල්ලා discuss කරනවා. Then it will be very clear to you. Right? මෙහෙන් ඉරි තිබුණාට බය වෙන්න එපා. Numbers පිළිවෙලට යන්න. You can see this chart clearly. Hello? Mali?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, right. From now the time is 3:02. Right. We'll be back at 3:12. Right. How many people are there? 20. But I can see
25.
25. Fine. That's enough. Right. Now let's see the flow chart. From the flow chart, we'll try to understand how these transferable LCs function. Right. Number 1, you saw that arrow both ways. Right. That is, there is a contract between the first beneficiary and the applicant. Right? There's a contract between the first beneficiary and the applicant. This will be a very good exercise for you, your homework. Right? Once I finish everything, don't write it now. As a homework, you can open this flow chart and then write the flow in words. Write the flow in words. For example, step 1, right? Step 1, contract between the first beneficiary and the applicant. Right? And then, based on the contract, the applicant, number 2, applicant will submit his transferable LC application to the issuing bank. Transferable LC application to the issuing bank. Why I am saying transferable LC, you have to mention it very clearly. Otherwise, the issuing bank will not mention it as a transferable LC. the applicant has to mention that. Transferable LC application to the issuing bank. Then the issuing bank will issue the LC and advise to the first beneficiary's bank of first beneficiary, number 3. Right? Since it's a very complicated one, you must have seen there are about 21, 22 steps. So because of that, if you can't understand any step when I'm explaining, please stop me and ask me clarification. Right. Number 3, up to number 3, there's no issue. So the first beneficiary's bank will, that is domiciled in first beneficiary's country, they will advise the LC to the first beneficiary, number 4. They advise the LC to the first beneficiary. Then the first beneficiary, once they receive the thing, he will have some, according to the LC, he will have some contract with the second beneficiary. In most cases, this number 5 is a simultaneous one as number 1. Along with the number 1, simultaneously they will have another contract signed by first beneficiary and second beneficiary. Right? They already they have to plan it. And then anyway, after that, the first beneficiary, number 6, first beneficiary will request his bank to transfer the LC to second beneficiary. To transfer the LC to the second beneficiary, number 6. So with that, the first beneficiary's bank will transfer the LC and advise it to the second beneficiary's bank, number 7. Right? And then the second beneficiary's bank will advise the LC to the second beneficiary. And the second beneficiary will produce the or manufacture the stuff as per the LC terms and then ship the goods, number 9, ship the goods to the applicant. Ship the goods to the applicant directly. They don't send it to first beneficiary. They send directly to the applicant. Right? So when they are transferring the LC, number 7, when they are transferring the LC, earlier the LC validity was 2 months, amount was 5,000. Transferable LC. When they are transferring to the second beneficiary, they reduce the validity to 1.5 months, 1.5 months, and value to read as, sorry, not 5,000, 5 million US dollars. Second one was 4.5 million US dollars. 4.5 million US dollars. So the profit to the first beneficiary is about $500,000. Not bad, eh? අපේ ජීවිතේට දකින්න හම්බ වෙන්නේ අපිට. අපිට අල්ලන්නවත් හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right. Then after shipping the goods, they will submit the documents. The second beneficiary will submit the documents, number 10, to his bank. His bank will send the documents to the first beneficiary's bank, number 11. Right? There is a small mistake here. This is not the way it's happening in Sri Lanka as well as some other countries. According to this, number 12 is then they will be get paid. they will be get paid. No, this is wrong, right? Mathika notice kale ne. Ekapata pay when we are transferring the LC, we put a clause. We put a clause because applicant is getting the goods by unknown party. So we put a clause, right? Upon receipt of number 7, clause. Upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank, we will pay you. Upon receipt of funds from the issuing bank, we will pay you. Till then, we don't pay. Right? Rekindala 12 kinega product ayin on. Then what they will do is 12 ayin kola 13 ayin gano. 12 ayin kola 13 ayin gano. Right? Ita passe this number 14 eka thamai igawata wenne when the first beneficiary's bank receives the documents, they will submit the documents to the first beneficiary. So when they receive the documents, they will receive the documents prepared by the second beneficiary. The first beneficiary, what they will do is they will replace certain documents as per the DC conditions and resubmit it to the first beneficiary's bank, number 15. Right? Then those documents, those replaced documents will be sent to the issuing bank, number 16. Then the issuing bank will, if the documents are complied with the terms and conditions of the LC, they will pay, number 17, they will pay the first beneficiary bank. They will pay the first beneficiary bank. The normal bank may LC. Then what these people will do is number 17, number 18 when then the bank, first beneficiary's bank will send, instead of 12, you have to say 18 there. They will send 4.5 million to the second beneficiary. Second beneficiary's bank. 4.5 million to second beneficiary's bank. Right? And the balance 500,000, they will give it to first beneficiary. Instead of 18, you can say 19. 12 will become 18 and 18 will become 19. Right? Then once the second beneficiary receives the money, they will deduct their charges and then pay the money. Instead of 13, now we'll say 19 dave. Okay, antimate ivarone. No, 19. So 13, instead of 13, it is 20. They will send the money to 4.5 million to the second beneficiary. 4.5 million to the second beneficiary. Right? Then, meanwhile, the issuing bank will give the documents, instead of 19, 21, just to say 21, to the applicant. They will inform the applicant, then the applicant will pay instead of 20, 22, and then we'll give the documents to them instead of 21, 23. We'll give the documents to the applicant. Then the applicant will submit the documents to the customs. and the customer will clear the goods and give it to the applicant. Right? This is the transferable LC flowchart. Right? Since we did some small changes, next time I'll have to get these things done it. But I'm not a very good. I'm not a good person in doing these things like changing the numbers and all those things. Since you understood the thing, if one volunteer, if you can change the numbers and send it to me by email, I'll be glad to have it so that I can replace my chart with that. I can replace my chart with that. Right? Already, no, මේවා හදලා ගන්න දක්ෂ ළමයෙක් PowerPoint එක හදලා මට ඒ ස්ලයිඩ් එක විතරක් එවන්න පුළුවන් නම් I'll be obliged. Right? බලන්න කවුරුරි එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද කියලා බලමු. ඒක වෙනස් වෙන්නේ 12 වල ඉඳන් 12 වල ඉඳන් තමයි එන්නේ වෙනස් වෙන්නේ. Right? Any questions? Any questions? One questions, eh? What one questions? You know, one question. Heart of the.
So this is not going beyond the second beneficiary, right?
Pardon?
Is not going beyond a second beneficiary, right? Only can go up to the second beneficiary.
Very good questions. May I know your name?
Malik sir, NDB.
Yeah. Very, very good question. Very good question. You can transfer, first beneficiary can transfer to any number of second beneficiaries. But the second beneficiaries cannot transfer it to third beneficiaries. It is stopped at that point. Right? Okay? Fine. Any other questions? Yes, silence means either you all understood it very clearly or you have not understood any. Which one is correct? Yeah, you understood it.
Yes, sir.
Right, thank you. Because me numbers tika poddak me karagana na already no volunteer if you can change it and send it to me in time to come, you can boast saying that I'm the one who did the changes. Right? My email. Right. Ensure that the transfer is in accordance with the ICC 600 Article 38. In ICC 600 UCP 600, there's a special article for transferable LCs, Article 38. Right? Paying particular attention to the following changes requested by the beneficiary. Requested by the first beneficiary. When the first beneficiary is giving instructions to transfer, these are very, very important. Amount of the credit may be reduced. Amount of the credit may be reduced. Now I'm going back again. From 5 million, we have reduced to 4.5 million. Correct? Then the second one, unit price may be reduced. When you are transferring, amount is 5 million, we have reduced the amount 5 million to 4.5 million, but number of units has to be the same, because applicant is paying 5 million to receive 5 million units. So you can't reduce number of units. Even at 4.5 million, you have to supply 5 million units, right? You have to supply 5 million units. Therefore, you have to reduce the unit price, right? Then අපි හිතමු $5 million වලට 5 million units දෙනවයි කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ එක unit එකක් $1. But when we are transferring, we will say 80 cents a unit. But we need 5 million units. Unit price එක අඩු කරනවා. Expiry date may be shortened. Expiry date may be shortened. මේකේ මං කළේ තියෙන්නේ 2 months තිබුණ expiry. ඒක අඩු කළා 1.5 කියන 1.5 months වලට. That time we won't be able to meet the final, because we had to replace the documents. The first beneficiary has to replace the document and send. Then he won't be able to meet the final before expiry. He has to submit the documents, right? Again, the 2 months in a validity period, 1.5 months. Shipment date may be short. Definitely, we have to make it short. Em නැත්තම් අපේ documents are date, right? Presentation may be short. Presentation date may be short. Right? Normally, in LCs, as per the Article 14, if they have not mentioned anything particularly, the presentation period is 21 days from the BL date. 21 days, within 21 days from the BL date, you have to submit documents. දැන් ඒක එහෙමම දෙකටම තිබුණොත් එම අපිට අරක මීට් කරන්න බෑ. ඒකින්ද when we are transferring the LC to the second beneficiary, we will say presentation period 10 days, not 21 days. We will say 10 days, right? Then they have to hurry up and send in the documents, right? Quantity of goods may be reduced if partial shipments are allowed. Quantity of goods may be reduced if partial shipments are allowed. Once we have quantity of goods, then we have more than one second beneficiaries now, right? අපිට ඒවා ඒ විදිහට කඩලා දෙන්න වෙනවා. Then partial shipments are allowed. The partial shipments are allowed. නම් අපි ඒක ඒ විදිහට දාන්න ඕන. Insurance percentage may be increased to achieve cover required by the original credit. Okay. Now, what is the original credit? What's the amount? Original credit, what is the amount?
$1 million.
$5 million. If it is $5 million, what should be the insurance amount we need? When we open LCs, what is the percentage of insurance we require?
110.
110%. Very good. Then 5 million only 100. What's that?
5,500,000.
5,500,000. 5,500,000. The second LC, when we are transferring, not second LC, when we are transferring, මේකම LC කියන්නේ ඒකින්ද මම වචනේ වරද්ද ගන්න එපා. Same LC we are transferring. When we are transferring, what is the amount? 4,500,000. Then what is the 110%? 4,950,000. 110% of 4.5 million is 4.95 million. Right? If we send that document, because insurance we can't replace, then if we send the documents to the applicant, insurance is one of the documents which we can't replace, right? Originally unknown him. So when we send the documents to the applicant, issuing bank, they will see the original LC is 5 million, insurance amount is 110% of the CIF value. Now, the insurance they have received is for 4.95 million, even less than 5 million. So it will be a discrepant document. They will not send a cent. If they don't send the money, then the first beneficiary cannot pay the second beneficiary. Second beneficiary will have to face the loss. That is the main reason. Why we are waiting till we receive the money from the issuing bank. Then only we'll do the payment. Right? Then only we'll do the payment. Right. So the insurance එක 495 නම් වෙන්නේ ඒක 110%. What should be the interest to match the 5 million?
123 odd,
123% වෙනවා අදට. බලමු. 5 million into 123% can 102 ඒක ආවනම් 6.15 වෙනවා. ඒ වැඩිත් එක්ක. ඊට අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්. 120%. 120% ගත්තොත් 6 million. Right? 115% ගත්තොත් minimum න ගන්න ඕනේ මේ වැඩි වෙන්නේ you have to pay a massive premium. 115%. 115% ගත්තම වැඩිත් එක්ක 5,750,000. අපිට ඕනේ 5,550,000. ඉතින් 115% ගත්තම අපිට ඕනනම් ඇති. හැබැයි the poor second beneficiary has to pay 120 sorry මට වැරදුනා.
it may calculate for 4.5 million.
4.5 million. Yes. එතකොට 123% කියන්නේ right. Yes, you're correct. මට වැරදුනේ 5.5 123%. 123%. Right? So that poor guy has to pay more premium for that amount. Right? Instead of paying 110, now we have to pay 123. Right? Okay. Key elements of the Article 38 of UCP 600. We have to read all these articles and then understand. Right? අද අපි කියවන්න යනවා දැන් ගොඩක් කට්ටිය ගාව ඇති නේද UCP 600 එක රිෆර් කරගෙන යන්න වෙනවා. Article 38 right. මේක තියලා දැන් අපි will read the Article 38 article by article. Right? මේ quarantine period එකේ දැන් ඔයගොල්ලෝ UCP URC 522 ඉවර කළාද? කියවල ඉවරද එකපාරක්? Right? දැන් ඉතින් උදේ ඉඳන් හවස නැකන් කරන්න පුළුවන්. Yesterday I spent about 5 hours on preparing these presentations, revising the presentations, changing the things, right? ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තමයි මාත් මෙච්චර මේ වෙලා ඕගොල්ලෝ වෙනුවෙන් අපි spend කරනවා. You also have to spend time because now you have to write the exam now. Taking the කියවන්න. කියවලා 10 පාරක්වත් කියවලා ගන්න. Article 38A. Article 38A is effect of designating credit transferable. It says the bank is under no obligation to transfer the credit except to the extent that in the manner expressly consented to by that bank. Right? Now the bank, when a bank receives the transferable instructions, the first beneficiary's bank is under no obligation to transfer a credit. Under no obligation. If they are happy, only they can do the transfer. Right? Because if they think that the transfer is involved in unnecessary goods, banned goods like narcotics, okay, දේවල් නම් වෙන්නේ customer sure නැත්තම්, he has a reputation for handling these things, right? Then you can refuse transferring the LC. After doing the KYC, you can refuse. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not prepared to do it. Because more than the money, your credibility values, right, is more important. Subarticle B, 38B, issuing bank to indicate the transferring bank when DC is available with any bank. Very important. For the purpose of this article, transferable credit means a credit that specifically states it is transferable. If it is a transferable LC, you have to mention, you have to specifically annotated it as transferable. A transferable credit may be made available in whole or in part to another beneficiary. That means second beneficiary at the request of the first beneficiary. Right? Transferring bank means nominated bank that transfers the credit or credit available with any bank. A bank that is specifically authorized by the issuing bank to transfers the credit. An issuing bank may be a transferring bank, right? When you are transferring, right? When you are transferring the LC, you have to say if it is available with, if you are nominating a particular bank, then you can restrict the negotiation to that particular bank. Or else, if you are just mentioning available with any bank, transferable දාන්න එපා. Available with any bank transferable දාන්න එපා. It's contradicting. So you have to mention specific bank as a transferring bank, right? You have to mention specific bank as a transferring bank. Transferred credit means a credit that has been made available by the transferring bank to a second beneficiary, right? C. Transferring bank's charges. Unless otherwise agreed at the time of transfer, all charges such as commission, fees, costs, or expenses incurred in respect of a transfer must be paid by the first beneficiary. Must be paid by the first beneficiary. So the transferring bank's charges must be paid by the first beneficiary. Right? So I told you the transferable LCs is a common one, but the risk is low. But you have to know about these rules and regulations. Article 38, you have to read and understand by heart. Right? Then D, prohibition of subsequent transfers. A credit may be transferred in part to more than one second beneficiary, provided partial drawings or shipments are allowed. A transferred credit cannot be transferred at the request of a second beneficiary to any subsequent beneficiary. Now, Malik, you asked this question earlier, right? Yeah, whether we can transfer it to the mother party? No. But we can transfer any amount of second beneficiaries, but not to second beneficiaries, cannot transfer it to third beneficiaries. Right? E, excluding notice of amendments to second beneficiary. Excluding notice of amendments to second beneficiary. Any request for transfer must indicate if and under what conditions amendments may be advised to the second beneficiary. The transferred credit must clearly indicate those conditions. Right? So any subsequent amendments, either the first beneficiary can advise to the second beneficiaries, or they can abstain from advising. Without advising, they can say, no, we are not going to advise these amendments to second beneficiary. Right? It is their prerogative. F, notification and effect of amendments. Notification and effect of amendments. If a credit is transferred to more than one second beneficiary, rejection of an amendment by one or more second beneficiaries does not invalidate the acceptance by any other second beneficiary with respect to which the transferred credit will be amended accordingly. For any second beneficiary that rejected the amendment, the transferred credit will remain unamended. Right? Then, if you have issued to one beneficiary, then subsequent amendments, that also at your wish, you can advise to the second beneficiary. But if there are more than second beneficiaries, more than one second beneficiaries, right, then ABC, if it's a C, ABC, A will accept the amendment, but not the B and C. Right? Okay, you have to understand. For any second beneficiary that rejected the amendment, the transferred credit will remain unamended. But the ATA make unamended, ඒකට විතරයි amendments යන්නේ. B and C, it will be unamended. Right? Those are very risky areas, operationally risky areas. G is the most important thing. That is, the transferred credit must accurately reflect the terms and conditions of the credit, including confirmations, if any, with the exception of, right? With the exception of The amount of the credit, any unit price stated therein, all these things I have discussed, right? I make a discuss karane. Me meeting karane metana. Me Article 38G. The expiry date, the period for presentation, or the latest shipment date or given period for shipment. Any or all of which may be reduced or corrected. Right? The percentage for which insurance cover must be effected may be increased to provide the amount of cover stipulated in the credit of these articles. Ekat mama kiwa. Right? Insurance percentage may be increased to achieve to cover the original credit. Right? The name of the first beneficiary may be substituted for that of the applicant in the credit. In the name of the applicant is specifically required by the credit to appear in any document other than the invoice. Such requirement must be reflected in the transferred credit. Right? H. The first beneficiary has a right to substitute its own invoice and draft, if any, for those of a second beneficiary for an amount not in excess of that stipulated in the credit. And upon such substitution, the first beneficiary can draw under the credit for the difference, if any, between the invoice and the invoice of the second beneficiary. When the second beneficiary submits the invoice for $4.5 million, the first beneficiary has the right to substitute the invoice and the bill of exchange, to make it 5 million. Otherwise, they won't be able to get the 5 million from the applicant. So between him and the applicant, the agreement is for 5 million. So the first beneficiary, has to substitute these documents, change in the documents, right? I. Obligations on the first beneficiary to submit substitute documents in first demand. If the first beneficiary is to present his own invoice and draft, if any, but fails to do so on first demand, or if the invoices presented by the first beneficiary create discrepancies that did not exist in the presentation made by the second beneficiary, and the first beneficiary fails to correct them on first demand, the transferring bank has the right to present the documents as received from the second beneficiary to the issuing bank without further responsibility to the first beneficiary. Right? The whole thing I will try to explain to you. The obligations on the first beneficiary to submit substitute documents in first demand. Right? Make it interesting. The example I took earlier, Mr. Perra and Apuhami, can you remember? Right? Subudhu, can you remember? Perra and Apuhami.
Yes, sir.
Perra is the first beneficiary, Apuhami is the second beneficiary. Now I told you, Pereira has a lot of context. Father was a minister and is a minister. Cousin ministers. Then because of them only he will get the context. And I told you that that guy The first beneficiary doesn't want to have a factory or office or anything. Only thing what he wants is at home, he can do the entire transaction with a um, laptop and a printer, laptop and a printer. He just want to change the invoice and the bill of exchange. Others he can't change because all the other documents have been generated by the second beneficiary. Right? Now, I told you, now these guys are very influential guys, the first beneficiary. Now, he has gone to a nightclub, had a quarrel with some other guys over a issue of a girl. අපි හිතමු එහෙම නැහැ කියලා. අන්න තාත්තගේ security කාරණා එකතුලා මිනිස්සුන්ට ගන්නවා. After that guy goes missing. After that guy goes missing because the party who got hammered, they have put a complaint into the police. So now police is looking for this guy. And then look back in and put exam police here and this that Boruta Vakarana is like Angela in the now. But man is missing now. Maybe he may have gone abroad also. Singapore quite a gila than in missing. But the transaction is going on. Right? Then we will have my transaction again. But the transaction is going on. The second beneficiary send the goods to Dubai and submitted the documents to the first beneficiary's bank, Mr. Pereira's bank. Pereira is missing. Now the bank will inform Pereira to substitute the document. They have to substitute 4.5 million documents to make it 5 million before submitting it to the issuing bank. Hello. Somebody wants to ask a question now by mistake. Okay. So he has to do the changes. Now for him to do the changes, what is going to happen is, now this guy is missing. Now how can he do the changes? So he won't be in a position to do the changes. In a scenario like that, only on first demand, if he doesn't oblige, the first beneficiary's bank or transferring bank has the right under the UCP 600 article 38I, they have the right to submit whatever the documents submitted by presented by the second beneficiary to the opening bank, LC opening bank, Dubai. Then Dubai will in applicant make a bonus windfall, right? Because he has got 5 million units worth of 5 million at a price of 4.5 million. Well, nobody has changed the bill of exchange, so he will happily pay 4.5 million to the first beneficiary's bank. The first beneficiary's bank will pay 4.5 million to the second beneficiary's bank. The second beneficiary's bank will pay the money to the second beneficiary. The middleman will not get a cent. Are you clear? Right. In case that guy is still absconding in Singapore, right? එහෙනම් යාගේ තව ගෝලයට instruction at okay, you submit, you do the changes and you submit the documents and change it and give it to the bank. The bill of exchange has to be signed. Invoice එක sign කළත් එකයි නැතත් එකයි bill of exchange එක sign කරනවා. ඔය අසනක්වත් ගන්න මම බලා ගන්නම් ඒක. ඔයා මගේ අසන ගන්න කියලා මියා කියයි. හැබැයි the documents the guy has submitted is not compatible with the second beneficiary's documents. So if they substitute those documents, invariably second beneficiary will not get the money. Definitely it's going to be a discrepancy. එතකොට මේගොල්ලෝ බැංක් එක එකපාරයි කියන්නේ අහන්නේ නැහැ එක එක garbage එවනවා. Then they will send whatever the documents they receive from the second beneficiary to the LC issuing bank, and they will get only 4.5 million, and then they will close the chapter. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then ඔයාලා අර හිස්ටම් පුරව ගන්න නම් ටිකක් දාගලා ගත්තම ලස්සනට ඔක ස්ටෝරි එකක් හදාගලා ඔළුවේ තියාගෙන ඉන්න පුළුවන්. කොහොමද ඔක වෙන්නේ කියන එක. Right. Well, those are the practical issues. Then H. H එක වලට ගිහිල්ලා substitution of invoices and drafts එක මම කළා. J, the first beneficiary may, in its request for transfer, indicate that honor or negotiation is to be effected to a second beneficiary at the place to which the credit has been transferred, up to and including the expiry date of the credit. This is without prejudice to the right of the first beneficiary in accordance with sub-article 38H. Right? The first beneficiary may, in its request for transfer, indicate that the honor or negotiation is to be effected to a second beneficiary at the place to which the credit has been transferred, up to and including the expiry date of the credit. Again, අපි ඔක්කොම අඩු කරලා දාන්නේ. ඒ ටික එනවා. හැබැයි when they are transferring, the first beneficiary's bank, transferring bank, when they are transferring, they put a clause in the LC. It's a very practical clause. Say, upon receipt of payment from the issuing bank, we will pay you. Upon receipt of payment from the issuing bank, we will pay you. ඒක තමයි මම අර 12 වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා කිව්වේ. Because otherwise, now they are very particular about providing the correct stuff to the applicant. Because if something goes wrong, they know that they will not get the money. එහෙම සල්ලි ආවේ නැත්නම් එහෙම ඒවන්ට සල්ලි හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? K. Presentation of documents by or on behalf of a second beneficiary must be made to the transferring bank. Right? Must be made to the transferring bank. Presentation of documents by or on behalf of a second beneficiary must be made to the transferring bank. Now it's very clearly I have mentioned about, we have discussed the all articles in the not key articles, all articles in the article 38, all the sub articles, right? That will give you a very clear picture on transferable credit, right? Okay. Then the last one, will be back-to-back trades. Back-to-back trades is also like transferable credit. The middleman is there. But in transferable credit, the most important thing is the same LC will be transferred. Only one LC issued by the issuing bank, it will be transferred, reducing the value, not a new LC. Right? It has been transferred from one party to the other. But back-to-back is a different thing. Even though we have a middleman, the benefit of an irrevocable document credit, the primary credit, may be made available to a third party where the primary beneficiary uses the documented credit as security or collateral to obtain another documented credit in favor of the actual supplier. Here, what is going to happen is the first LC will be received by the beneficiary, the primary beneficiary, or the first beneficiary. Then he will go to his bank and he will ask the bank, okay, you keep this LC, it's a confirmed LC, a confirmed order. You keep this as a security or collateral and issue me another LC to another party. Back-to-back. Back-to-back. Right? Most banks lot of RMs without lack of knowledge, when the customers ask for this back-to-back, they go for back-to-back and they set up limits. But don't do it. Don't do it because it is high risk. Because for me, back-to-back credit, the first beneficiary received the LC advised by his bank. It's just a piece of paper. Just a piece of paper. If he doesn't fulfill his obligations, he will not get the money. He will not get the money on the first LC. Then how he can pay the money to the second guy if you are going to keep it as a collateral? Just a piece of paper, right? But in the other one, this one, if the second beneficiary doesn't fulfill the obligations, his obligations, he has not submitted he has not shipped the goods. Is there any damage to the first beneficiary? Nothing. He has just transferred. Only thing is he will not get his commission. That's it. But no damage done. But in back-to-back, big damage. Right? We'll take this one as an example. The end buyer and between the middleman, they have the contract. So based on the contract, the LC application, the end buyer's bank will advise to the middleman. LC1, letter of trade 1 will be advised to the middleman, the normal LC. So the middleman will request his bank to keep this piece of paper as a security and open another LC, reducing the value and all those things to the supplier. The supplier will send the goods direct to the end buyer and give the document to the middleman. Now here, there are two different contracts. There are two different contracts and two different LCs. That is why back-to-back LCs are not discussed in UCP 600. Because UCP 600, you don't have to discuss because those are two different LCs. UCP 600 will apply to both LCs, right? The once the supplier has supplied the goods and send the correct documents to the middleman, he can't put a clause that upon receipt of funds from the end buyer, I will pay. No way. No way. Right? If they submit the correct documents, they have to pay. They have to pay. Right? If the end buyer doesn't pay on the contract 1, then middleman has to bear the loss. Then our piece of paper will go for 6. Right? I can remember this once this has happened. This is very common in back-to-back trades are very common in sugar, like cement. Bulk cargo වලට මේක හරි common back to back. Once I had a customer in Sri Lanka who was the #1 sugar importer to Sri Lanka. Right? He had an office in Dubai also, sub office. Right? Then he put an order. Orders we open LC to that particular bank in Dubai. Right? Then a bank they kept it as the security and they opened another LC to the supplier in Brazil. Supplier in Brazil to supply goods to end buyer in Sri Lanka. So they have shipped the goods. They have shipped the goods, and while in transit, it was captured by Somalian pirates. Right? And they have not insured for piracy. The massive load, about $2 million or something, US dollars. They have not insured for piracy. Sorry, piracy. There were some clauses, ambiguous clauses and all. So anyway, the end buyer, my customer, refused to pay the middleman's bank, saying that the ship has been captured, we have never received the thing, and all sort of things. So we'll have to wait till we receive the insurance claims. Unless otherwise I can't pay. It was a site LC. Right? So the middleman's bank was in a really tough situation because they have opened the LC to the supply in Brazil, taking this original LC as a collateral security. Right? So the Brazil supplier was demanding money from the Middle East bank, which they had to pay. They paid $2 million. They paid out of their pocket. They paid, and then they had to wait for about 6-7 months until the insurance claim was paid, not in full, right? Whatever the thing, for the losses, right? ඔයගේ issues එනවා. ඒකෙන්ද අපි back to back credits උත් හරි අඩුවෙන් ගන්නනේ. මම නම් ගොඩාක් advice කරනවා for credit people not to take it, because most of the credit people just go for it because the customer says I have a confirm order and all those things. You're bullshitting these people without knowing how the operation take place. They go and set up facilities for back-to-back credit. Right? එකක් කරන්න දෙන්න එපා. Back-to-back credit chart is also given here. Right? Here, no issue whether the second party pays or not. Right? pays or not, the real importer, real exporter pays or not, the first beneficiary, the middleman, has to pay the importer's bank if the documents are compliant with terms and conditions of the LC. Right? For homework, this also, please go by step by step and try to understand the scenario. And my advice to you is study it thoroughly and then keep it aside and try to draw with your memory. Memorize it and then try it again once or twice. Then you can be mastered. The method, my first LC opened by the importer to the exporter, we call that LC master LC. It's a master LC. The second LC we open to the beneficiary, the real beneficiary, the real exporter is called baby LC. Make a master LC, make a baby LC. Baba. Master ki Baba. Right? Make a baby LC. Etika transferable credit versus back-to-back credits. Another very common questions. Most of the time, these practitioners have been asked is to compare transferable credits and back-to-back credits. That means we'll have to write the similarities as well as differences. The similarities are both credits involve a middleman as a seller. Right? They both involve substitution of documents. When issuing a back-to-back or transferring a credit, terms to be observed are price, DC amount and the unit price might be reduced. Expiry date and shipment date might be brought forward. Date of presentation of documents might be curtailed. Insurance amount of the second DC might be increased to comply with the amount required under the master DC. Any documents which cannot be a substitute, for example, certificate of origin, you can't do anything, right? Then differences, back-to-back credits involve two DCs. Transferable credits involve only one DC. Same DC is getting transferred. Make two different LCs. That is why it is not specifically mentioned in the UCP 600 because it's a normal LC, two LCs. Back-to-back credits need not be designated transferable, but transferable credits must be designated as transferable. If they are not designated as transferable, we cannot transfer. Right? Back-to-back credits are issued on the responsibility of the bank. Transferable credits are transferred without any responsibility by the bank. Another very important point. UCP 600 governs both back-to-back and transferable credits. Right? UCP 600 governs both back-to-back and transferable credits. But transferable credits issued must specifically comply with the Article 38. There's no such article for back-to-back. Back-to-back credits allow certain flexibility in documentary requirements. Transferable credits allow none except as set out in the ICC UCP 600 Article 38. Because when you are opening back-to-back LCs, there is a certain amount of flexibility. You can do. But transferable credit, there's nothing except for Article 38G. Right? Now, I will ask the question. There is a uh, I mean, the first beneficiary is received uh, master LC in US dollars. In US dollars, he has to get the supply from Germany. In Germany, the currency you used is euro, right? Now, in a scenario like that, what is the most appropriate type of LC in this operation? Is it a transferable LC or a back-to-back LC? Is it a transferable LC or a back-to-back LC? What is the answer? Boys la kata karna व्यवसाय කෙනෙක්වත් શબ્ද නැහැ. ලැජ්ජයි. The original LC is in US dollars. The second LC, they said they need to open, they need to have a LC with the currency euro. So what is the most appropriate type of transaction LC which we should use? Either is it transferable LC or back to back? And I need the reason also.
Back to back LC.
Back to back. Why you say back to back?
If the transferable LC can't change type of money, currency.
Yes, in transferable LC you can't change the type of currency. You can change only 5. අර පන්සිල් පද පහ වගේ. ඒ පහ විතරයි වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. You can't change the currency. If you want to change the currency, then you have to use back-to-back LC because there's more flexibility, right? Okay, good, very good answer. Back-to-back customers require a special credit facility, whereas transferable credits do not. Back-to-back consider special credit facility එකක් ඕන මේක ගන්න. මම නම් හැබැයි back-to-back අර මිනිස් customers අර මම කියලා තියෙන්නේ මම මේ RM සට කියන්නේ forget about back-to-back, ask them to keep collateral. We have to have some collateral. Back-to-back for me is only a piece of paper. හරියට frauds වෙනවා, හරියට damages වෙනවා banks වලට back-to-back වලින්. Right? You have to be very careful. Right. I think I have covered the whole thing. I have discussed about how many special types. වැඩියත් එක discuss කළා. Clean credits, then standby, red clause, green clause, evergreen, transferable, and then back to back. 7 types we have discussed, right? Normally practice again ඔක්කොම practice again නැති ඒවත් එක්කම මම discuss කළා. Now it's a quiz time to check your understanding. But again, I'm feeling very bad for the ෆිසිකල් ක්ලාස් එකේ නම් මම ක්ලාස් එක දෙකට බෙදලා මම කට්ටිය ඔක්කොම රවුම් එකට තියලා මම හරි ෆ්‍රීලි මේ ක්ලාස් එකක් කරන්න අපි මේ DIT එක. කවද ඔයගලන්ට ඒ වගේ දෙයක් කරන්න වේද කියලා මට හිතා ගන්න බෑ මේ තියෙන තත්ත්වෙට. මම හරි ෆ්‍රීලි මේ ක්ලාස් එක යන්න දෙන්නේ. ඔයගලන්ට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්, කෑ ගහන්න පුළුවන්, රන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මම ඒ ඔක්කොම ඒ ෆ්ලෙක්සිබිලිටිස් දීලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට තමයි මේක හරීම ඇක්ටිව් යන්නේ. ක්ලාස් එකේ හැමදාම ඉවර වෙනකන් 75ක් විතර 75 නම් පටන් ගත්තේ 75ම ඉන්නවා. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ හරි ආසාවෙන් එන්නේ සින්සරාදට. රණ්ඩු වෙන්න මේ කරන්න මම අඩු ගානේ උත්තර දෙන කට්ටියට ට්‍රොෆි එකක්වත් දෙනවා මොනවා හරියක් කරනවා අපි. It was very interesting. right දැන් මේ පාර නෑ. ඒකින්ද individually you have to answer. The people I need more voices. I need more voices. සමුදු මාලෙත් වගේ කට්ටිය විතර එන්නේ. I need more voices. Girls and boys both answer. Right? Please. What is the answer for the first one?
Red cross LC.
Red Cross.
DC.
Red Cross.
Answer is
B.
answer is
Red
B.
Cross.
Answer is B. Red Cross. That is LC that
Advance payment.
claim payment before it has right. But I think I missed to mention something to you. In Sri Lanka, when we open Red Cross, there is a limitation. This advanced part, there is a limitation. What is the limitation?
50,000.
Yes,
USD?
$50,000. Yeah, this is goes an advance payment without receiving the goods. Right? Taking the I can know 50,000 maximum annual. This one in a transferable letter of credit, there can be more than one beneficiary.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. B.
No.
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 There is more than one issuing bank involved. No. Very good. Only one issuing bank. C.
Yes.
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 Yes. Right. Then man ඔගලන්ගේ understanding එක අපේ test කරනවා ඔයාලට revise වෙනවා. Three. Make candle.
C.
Answer C.
Answer is C. Any other answers? Any other answers? Correct. Answer is incorrect is ISP 1995. What is the correct answer?
ISP 98.
98. Very good. Very good. ISP 98. Right? But for everybody, ඔගොල්ලෝ මේවා print කරනවා නම් print කරලා හරි තියා ගන්නවා නම් asterisk එකක්වත් දාලා මේ question එක තියා ගන්න. එහෙම නැත්නම් මේක දිහා බලාගෙන ISP වල notes දාගන්න. A, B and D, A, B and D is a very good short note for standby letter of credit. Very good short note. Right? It's a very good short note for A, B and D. Standby letter of credit. Right? Short notes ලියන්න ගියොත් A points තුනම very important. 4.
Answer is C.
Answer is C. Any other people? කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ. අනිත් 25 දිවසයක් දින්නවා. 25 දිවසයක් දින්නවා. NDB, DFCC, සම්පත් හිටියා ගොඩක් මම දන්නවා. Standard Chartered, Bank of Ceylon, People's Bank. What? Any other answers? You all agree with C?
Yes.
Yeah. The answer is C. 2 independent undertaking by 2 different issuing banks. Number 5. What is meant by the autonomy of the document? Autonomy means the independence.
A.
What's your name?
Prasad.
Prasad. Prasad from which bank?
HNB.
HNB. Any other? Prasad, you are in the trade or
No, sir.
you are in the branches?
Yeah, I'm in the branch.
Right, very good. Now the Prasad says A. What about the others? Malik, Sumudu, then නම් කීපයක් මතක ඇච්ච අනිත් ඒවා මතක නැහැ. Relax කොහොමද කියන්නේ?
D.
D. D.
D.
E or B? 1 or 2?
2. D. Delta.
Delta. The document rate is superseded by second contract on which it is based. What's your name, brother?
Sumudu.
Asumudu. Okay.
Sumudu.
Asumudu. Any other answers? Now
D.
you have 2 answers. A and
D, sir.
තව දෙකක් තියෙනවා B and C. කවුරුද ඉන්නේ? We got only two answers. The last one, the Sumudu's one, documented rate is superseded by the sale contract on which it is based. Sumudu, that is wrong, completely wrong, because we, as banks, we are not dealing with the sales contract. Again, clearly, UCP 600 articles. And I told you to read articles at least. Then you have to read all the articles. You have to read all the articles, right? Article 4, credit versus contract. Right? Cannot be. It's an autonomy. Documented rate is separate from the sale contract on which it is based. That's the correct answer. Right? It is separate from the sales contract. We don't care what is the sales contract. Right? Sometimes when we are doing in the departments, working in the department, customers comes and ask certain clarification. They said, "Sir, can I have a word with you?" And we said yes. Then they show the sales contract and asked our opinion on a ambiguous article in the sales contract. So sometimes we also, like pundits, we are going to explain the thing to them, right? Subsequently, unfortunately, if something happens and if the transaction go bad, then later they will come and tell us, why sir, that day I asked you specifically because of this issue, and you gave me the opinion of yours, which we have acted accordingly. Now, because of your opinion, we have to bear this loss. අන්තිමට අපේ කරේ එන්නේ. ඒකෙන්ද මම නම් කවුරු ගෙනාවත් sales contract එකක් අතින් අල්ලන්නේ ඇඟිලි දෙකෙන් අල්ලලා විසි කරනවා. Between the buyer and the seller, you have to sort it out. Banks don't get involved. Don't go and do unwanted things. Don't go and advise the customers on their sales contract. That's the worst thing you can do to damage the bank. Right? Very important. If the customers have any issues, any gray areas in a sales contract, you have to speak to your other counterparty and get it sorted out. Right? Okay. Number 6. What is the answer? I think we have got very good questions. Manat Santosha, may questions to get answer.
See?
Yes. Who is that? Manid?
Sumudu.
Sumudu. Yes, Sumudu. Excellent. The correct answer is C. Correct answer is C. Right? When a documented credit is available with any bank, when a documented credit is available with any bank, right? It must indicate that it must indicate the bank indicate the bank that is authorized to effect transfer. That is authorized to effect transfer. This is very clearly detailed in UCP 600 Article 38B. 38B, right? And I think I have discussed this also when we were doing the presentations, right? If it is available with any bank, then they can go to any bank, but when the issuing bank has to mention who should do the transfer, they have to nominate, right? They have to nominate the transferring bank. Very good. Number 7.
C, right, sir?
Hmm?
C should be C, no?
C. Why you say C? Any other answers? Any other answers? You have to support your answer with the reasons. You say the transferred credit must not be confirmed without specific instruction from the issuing bank. My dear friend, we have already received the specific instruction from the issuing bank. Check the question. The transferred credit has been confirmed. That means they have received the specific instruction from the issuing bank. What else? Do you want to go back to them again and ask, is it to be confirmed? Banking even a right? C is not the answer.
Is it B, sir?
No. Article 6. The correct answer is A. Transferred credit must be confirmed. Right? Just read Article 38G. UCP 600. Subarticle 38G. Right? That will outlines the terms and conditions that may be reduced or curtailed in a transfer. Items shipment date article curtail and transfer. And it indicates that the transferred credit must accurately reflect the terms and conditions of the transferable credit. very clearly you have to read between lines, right? Indicates that the transferable credit must accurately reflect the terms and conditions of the transferable credit, including confirmation if any. Including confirmation if any. Article එක එහෙමම තියෙනවා. Including confirmation if any. පටන් ගන්නකොට උඩින්ම තියෙන්නේ article 38G එකේ word එක. So if it is to be confirmed, then we have to confirm, right? If you are not confirming, then you have to go back to the issuing bank and say, I am not prepared to confirm. And if the beneficiary wants to do it, then look for some other bank. I'm not going to do it, right? Okay. This one.
So I'm sorry, my line got disconnected. It's B, right?
Answer is A. Answer is A. The transfer trade must be confirmed as per Article 38G. Please read Article 38G. First two lines will give you the answer, right?
Right. Okay, sir.
Okay. 8.
Answer B.
Answer B. Answer 2.
Answer 2.
B.
All says B. Any other answers? Any other answers?
Should we increase expiry date and the shipment date?
Read the read the article 38G එකේ තියෙනවානේ 38G නෙමෙයි මේ article 38 එකේ ගොඩාක් තියෙනවානේ, right? The correct answer is C. C. It can be reduced or remain the same, right? The correct answer is C. UCP 600 subarticle 38G indicates the terms and conditions that may be reduced or curtailed. Reduced or curtailed, right? These terms and conditions may remain the same. May remain the same, but cannot be increased. So one is completely out. It cannot be increased, but it may remain the same. May remain the same till අපේ ඕනතරම් අපි කරලත් තියෙනවා. අපි banks වල අපි කරනවා, but we advise the customers always to reduce it. Always to reduce it, because if you keep it same, you are opening for loopholes. හරියට මාවේ නැත්තම් remain the same. It may, right? Vendapulam, but it has to be reduced or may remain same. So the correct answer is C. Right. I think we had a very, very long session, but interesting. It is very, very useful presentation of we did today of discussing about various types of what do you call this LCs, right? Out of which standby letter of credit, retro sales, revolving, transferable, and back-to-back are very, very important, right? And time to come, what I will do is I will give you some more questions for you to do. I don't know how you are going to submit me the answers. At least we have to find a way, because where the things are happening, I have my doubts whether we can meet each other in near future, right? ඒකින්ද අපි මේක මේ කොහොමද මේක කරන්න කියන එක අපිම හදාගන්න වෙනවා ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් මේකක්. One thing is you can, if you can do your answers and give it to, send it to Menaka මොන විදියකින් හරි banks පටන් ගත්තට පස්සේ, the Menaka is living close to my place, so at least Menaka can give it to me to check your answers. But බලමු මොන හරි, right? So the physical આવොත් මට බලන්න පුළුවන් answers ගන්න පුළුවන්, නැත්නම් හරි අමාරුයි online අරගෙන මට ඒක හරි වැරදි හොයන්න, right? The other thing is, if you all are going to participate, then we can discuss the questions at the class. Then Brittany may වෙනවා, Brittany කතා කරනවා, මලික් කතා කරනවා, සුබුදු කතා කරනවා, කීප දෙනෙක් කතා කරන්නේ, right? අනිත් කතා කරනවා, Dinesh, Mario, Rachel, Tirina, if you can talk, if you can participate, then we can have a discussion, right? බලමු මම questions දෙක තුනක් තව ඉස්සරහට දීලා බලන්න. But you have a very important homework to do this week, right? That is, please read, please try to finish URC 522 at least once, and read at least 1 to 10 articles of UCP 600. මොකද මම ගිය පාර දුන්නා, ඒ හින්දා මේ පාර 1 to 20 ම බලන්න වෙනවා. 1 to 20 articles බලන්න වෙනවා. ඒකෙන් article 14 name very important, 14, 15, 16 very important, 7, 8, 9 very important, right? 4, 5, 6 important, 12 important, ඔය ටික තියෙනවා. මේවා one by one මම discuss කරන්න වෙලාවකුත් නෑ. Because of that, you all have to work hard, read. 10 පාරක්වත් කියවුවොත් exam එකට ඉස්සෙල්ලා UCP එක at least 5 times, 6 times UCP URC ඉවර කරගත්තොත් you can answer the questions without any doubts, right? Okay. So then I'll call it a day and wish you all the best and stay safe.